and I'm very thankful that Christ came for the rest of the world, and that God's plan has been to make worshipers for himself. He's going to make a family for himself from all people groups, and I'm very grateful for that. And then the second thing Jesus is doing, not only is he stating the big scheme of things and reteaching them the big plan of salvation, but he's giving what most commentators call an apparent denial. Now, Jesus can get away with this because he can look right into people's hearts, and Jesus establishes faith in people's hearts, and he builds faith in people's hearts. And so Jesus can do this. He can give what we call an apparent denial. The Gentile world was filled with celebrity magicians, people who could do tricks, who could heal, who could do different things. And Jesus wanted to make sure that she wasn't thinking of him like that at all. And also, Jesus is teaching his disciples, and he's teaching us what faith is, what faith in Jesus Christ looks like. He is gently drawing out her faith. He understands her heart. He understands what's going on inside of her mind and inside of her heart, and he is teaching us something about faith here. And her response gives us great insight into true faith in Jesus. And this is something that I need to carefully consider a lot. I need to think about this a lot. I need to pray through this a lot. This is a big deal. This is a big deal to us as we're starting this church, and as God is working here. This is something that I hope stays close to us. This kind of faith that she shows. This kind of faith that we look for God to build in people, and this is something we're praying that God does in our friends and our neighbors. This is a big deal to us. Her response here in verses 28, and then Jesus responding to her in verses 29 and 30. This is a big deal. So we're gonna zone in on this for just a few minutes. What she says in verse 28. But she answered him, "Yes, Lord, yet even the dogs under the table eat the children's crumbs." Yes, Lord, yet even the dogs under the table eat the children's crumbs. Now, she could have done a couple things. She could have said, "I'm not a dog. Don't call me a dog. I'm not going to take that. I come begging for help from you. I take all this risk, and then you call me a dog. I don't need you. I'm going to go somewhere else." She could have done that. She could have been filled up with pride. She could have been filled up with self-reliance, and she could have said, "Forget it. I'm walking." But she doesn't. In this response, there is a complete absence of pride and self-reliance. She owns up to the fact that, yes, she is unworthy. He says, "You are unworthy." She says, "Yes. Yes, I am." He says, "You don't deserve my help." She says, "No, I don't." He says it's not right for me to bless you. It's not right for you to eat at my table. And she says, "You're right. You're right, it's not." But she doesn't say, "You're right, it's hopeless," and then walk away. She doesn't say, "You're right. You're right. I don't deserve it, so I'm out of here." She could have said that. One thing she could have said, "I'm not a dog. I don't need you," and walked away. Or she could have said, "You're right. I'm a dog. I'm worthless. I'm hopeless. I'm out of here." She could have balked one or two ways. She could have left one of two ways, but she didn't. Instead, she's bold. She's She's completely prideless. She's completely humble. And yet she's absolutely bold. She completely believes in Jesus Christ and His grace. She completely believes in it. She's completely bought in. She is 100% sure that she does not deserve His kindness. And yet she is also 100% sure that He is kind and He will help her. She could have walked away and said, "You're right, it's hopeless." But instead, she's firm. She firmly believes in the grace of Jesus. We talked a few chapters ago about good soil. This is what good soil looks like. When we talked about good soil, we were talking about a good heart, a heart that receives the gospel, a heart that the gospel grows in, and fruit from the gospel grows in, and this is it. This is exactly what it looks like. This is Jesus Christ saying, this is what faith looks like. This is Him drawing actual, real, true faith out of this woman. And the gospel is unique because it produces humility and it produces boldness. It produces humility and boldness. There's no other way of thinking. There's no other philosophy. There's no other system of thought. There's no other belief system that produces both humility and boldness. If I'm going to be a humble person, if I'm going to have a good understanding of my own depravity, which I think is extremely important, that we have a good walking around understanding of our own worthlessness. I think that's a big deal, that we understand that we do not deserve the grace that God has given us. That is a big deal. It's a big deal in Scripture, and it should be something that we are always mindful of. We understand our depravity. We talked last week about our hearts. We should understand that we cannot trust our hearts. We can't. The moment we think we've got it figured out, what we've done probably is found another idol somewhere. We just struggle. We have to understand that. We cannot trust our hearts. But we also must be just as hopeless as we feel about ourselves, we should feel that bold and that confident in Jesus Christ. We should have both of them. And the gospel is the only thing that I know of that produces both of these. It produces this walking around humility. We just understand day in and day out that we are lost without the grace of God, and that we're hopeless without the grace of God. But it also gives us this boldness. We sang about that tonight. We come boldly to the throne of God. We come right up to the God of the universe. We come right up to the God of the universe, and we beg upon His mercy and upon His grace.